بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters.
عليكم
This
السلام.
is the second session that we have on the famous letter of Imam Ali alayhi salam to Malik al-Ashtar, which is, for many scholars, is like the uh, guideline for uh, Islamic approach to governance, Islamic approach to rule, and what are the main requirements, what are the main teachings, what matters the most, so on and so forth. In the previous session, I explained the historical context in which the letter was written, explaining the importance of the time, considering the threat that was imminent in Egypt and the fall of the Egypt, and the why Imam alayhi salam decided to send Malik there. It's very important to understand the context because that tells a lot about the Imam alayhi salam's approach in such a dire situation, in such a difficult situation, and what matters the most for Ali alayhi salam. I mentioned also in the previous lecture that one of the most important things, as another preliminary discussion that we have to cover it, is about the audience of the letter, we're talking specifically about Malik Ashtar, one of the most celebrated companions of Ali alayhi salam, and understanding that the status of the one who receives a message, the status of the one who received a letter, who hears a hadith from the Imam, has a direct impact on the content and the type of instructions given to the person. When we hear a hadith, when we read a letter from the Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, from Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, from the Prophet, peace be upon him, from the other infallible guides that we believe in Surah Ahl al-Bayt. And when we hear about a certain practice that they had, one of the first and most important questions is to investigate the context and also investigate the person who received that hadith, who Imam addressed by that letter, for example. And you see, there are different times and different places that may require different type of instructions. So the historical context for the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was fundamentally different than the historical context in which Hasan ibn Ali alayhi salam signed the peace treaty with Muawiyah. Two different times, two different requirements, and also two sometimes different instructions from the Imams. One of the famous hadiths that we had from the Prophet, peace be upon him, is that the Prophet mentions that one of the responsibilities of the people who were sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a divine mission to guide humanity, that they are expected to talk with the people to the level of their understanding, to bring themselves down to the level of the people. So this is the hadith, إنا معاشر الأنبياء أمرنا أن نكلم الناس على قدر عقولهم. We, the prophets, we were asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to talk and to speak with the people on the level of their understanding, to the level of their understanding. Not everyone can understand the depth of the certain teachings. Sometimes they misunderstand it. Sometimes giving them those instructions may even backfire. They can't digest it. They end up confusing everything. It is for the same reason that when you look at the type of the hadiths and instructions that we have from Ahlul Bayt, when those hadiths are directed towards those special companions, like Hisham ibn Hakam, like Muhammad ibn Muslim, like Zurarat ibn Ayun, the time of the Imam al-Baghdadi, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, you see that the depth of the hadiths varies. So when Imam addresses these specific people who are endowed with knowledge and insight that the other companions lacked, you see that the depth and the details of the teachings goes beyond the other type of hadiths. Because Imam sees a capacity that not many people they had at the time. So Imam provides more. The container is bigger, so it takes more water. It takes more knowledge. The capacity is higher. In the same light, if you look at the letters of alayhi salam, so some of which we have in Nahj al-Balagha and the other sources like Du'af al-Ughul, you see that the type of the letters that people like Malik al-Ashtar, like Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, so the letter that we discussed just before, uh, um, the letter of Imam to Malik al-Ashtar, the letter to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, to Uthman ibn Hunayf, to Kumayl ibn Ziyad, these are different than the other type of advices that Imam gave to other companions or to other people. Even among these close companions, you see even the letter that Imam wrote to Malik is different in certain ways than the letter Imam wrote to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Even among them, the levels vary and the instructions, the depth of the knowledge given to them is to the level that they can benefit. The higher the capacity, the more deep and insightful and detailed are the instructions. And this letter to Malik that tells us about how special was Malik in terms of his insight, in terms of his capacity. He was someone of a kind, Malik al-Ashtar. And this is something that you see it when Imam alayhi salam describes Malik. The words that we have from Imam alayhi salam all highlight the same fact that Imam wrote a letter to someone that he knew that this person can benefit from these instructions like no other. He has the capacity, he has the insight, he has the power, he has the will. He is strong, he has the commitment, he has the obedience. When Imam alayhi salam decided to send Malik to people of Egypt, he wrote a letter to the people of Egypt informing them of his decision. أما بعد فقد بعثت إليكم عبدا من عباد الله لا ينام أيام الخوف ولا ينكل عن الأعداء ساعات الروع. Now then, I have sent to you a servant of Allah, a servant of God, who does not sleep during times of fear, nor does he hesitate in the face of the enemy during the moments of terror. أشد على الفجار من حريق النار وهو مالك بن الحارث أخو ملحج, and he is more severe on the wicked than the blazing fire, and he is Malik al-Ashtar. So just in these few words, when Imam talking about someone who is not taking a nap, who is not sleeping the time of the fear in those dire situations, it is not about literally Malik not taking a nap, not sleeping in night, but is an analogy saying about Malik being someone responsible and conscious, someone aware of what was going around him, someone who was not neglecting any important detail. When Imam alayhi salam says that he is someone who, in the face of enemy, he does not hesitate. So Imam saying that he is steadfast. When Imam talks about Malik being like blazing fire on the enemies, he is again talking about Malik being hard going on the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in other words, what Imam alayhi salam describes for Malik in this short expression reminds us of the description that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the true companions of the Prophet. أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم. He is caring. He does not neglect to protect the people. He is responsible. People can trust him to protect them. At the same time, he's so strong and has the iron fist when it comes to confronting the enemy. أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم. Imam alayhi salam continues in his letter, فاسمعوا له وأطيعوا أمره فيما طابق الحق فإنه سيف من سيوف الله لا كليل الذبة ولا نابض ذريبة. Imam alayhi salam says, listen to him and obey his commands as long as they align with the truth. So that's Imam, while he knows Malik does not deviate, however, Imam always put the criterion here that you only follow someone as long as he follows the truth, even if he is Malik. فإنه سيف من سيوف الله, for he is a sword among the swords of Allah. He is one of the swords of God. Neither dull of edge nor weak in strike. It's a sharp sword. And when it has to strike, it strikes forcefully. So the expression that Imam alayhi salam mentions about Malik as a sword of God, Sayfun min suyuf Allah, is very meaningful. So it implies that Malik's sword was not moving but for the sake of Allah. So the movement of that sword was only for one entity, only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one else. It was sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means that he always had not only the right intention, but also the proper insight. There are people who have right intention, but unfortunately, due to lack of knowledge, lack of insight, they end up opposing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They end up betraying the faith. But Malik had both the right intention, the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and had the insight to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. So that's how Malik becomes, in the words of Ali alayhi salam, a sword of Allah, a divine sword that moves for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإن أمركم أن تنفروا فانفروا وإن أمركم أن تقيموا فأقيموا. If Malik commands you to advance, then advance. If he commands you to stay, then stay. This unconditional command of Ali alayhi salam to people of Egypt shows how he trusts Malik's decisions in the military field. That if he says something, that's the right thing to do. He says stop, then stop. He says advance, then advance. Trust him. He knows what he does. فإنه لا يقدم ولا يحجم ولا يؤخر ولا يقدم إلا عن أمره. ولا يؤخر ولا يقدم إلا عن أمره. That's very meaningful point. So, because he will not advance or retreat, nor delay or hasten, except according to my orders. For sure, it didn't mean that for every single order, Malik is going to write a letter from Egypt to Kufa to ask Imam whether he has to do it or not. Rather, it means that Malik knew Imam so well and knew his expectations and view that whatever he was doing was according to the expectations of Ali alayhi salam. So Ali says, whatever he says, whatever he asks is what I'm asking you. I'm saying to you, he is my trusted representative. I approve what Malik approves. I reject what Malik rejects. That just tells about how unique and how elevated is the status of Malik in the eyes of the Ali alayhi salam. وقد آثرتكم به على نفسي لنصيحته لكم وشدة شكيمته على عدوكم. And this is very beautiful. Alayhi salam says, I have preferred him over myself for your sake, because of his sincerity to you and his firmness against your enemies. So the point that Imam al-Islam mentions that I sacrifice my own interest for yourself. I needed him, but I sent him to you because you needed him more. The very fact that Ali alayhi salam says, I needed Malik, and I had to sacrifice my own interest to send him to you. وَقَدْ آثَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ عَلَى نَفْسِي. I needed him, but I preferred your needs. I prioritized your need and sent Malik to you. This is just tells about Malik is being like the right hand to the Imam. The fact that Imam, who is the divine guidance, says that I need him, making Malik someone who contribute to the divine plan of guiding the humanity. What can be more than that? For someone to be so trustworthy, so to be so elevated in spirituality, in knowledge, in insight, in helpfulness, that the Imam of his time says, I needed him. He's the right hand of Ali. There is another letter in which Ali alayhi salam writes to two of the military commanders of his army, and he describes Malik after he appointed Malik over them. Imam alayhi salam says, وَقَدْ أَمَّرْتُ عَلَيْكُمَا وَعَلَى مَنْ فِي حَيِّزِكُمَا مالك بن الحارث الأشتر فاسمعا له وأطيعا. I have appointed Malik al-Ashtar, Malik ibn al-Harith al-Ashtar over you, and those under your command, listen to him and obey. وَاجْعَلَاهُ دِرْعًا وَمَجْنًا, if I'm not mistaking the pronunciation. فَإِنَّهُ مِمَّنْ لَا يخاف وحنه ولا سقطته ولا بطئه عما الإسراع إليه أحزم ولا إسراعه إلى ما البطء إليه أنه أمثل. Imam says, and make him your shield and protector. وَاجْعَلَهُ الدَّرْعَ. Make him your shield. Trust him to protect you. He is someone whom one must neither fear his weakness. You should not be afraid of the weakness of Malik, nor his fall. He will not fall. He will not disappoint you. Neither his hesitation should be feared when swift actions are more prudent. He is not someone that when he has to decide to be hesitant, nor his haste when hesitation is more appropriate. He is someone that has the understanding, has the wisdom to know when is the time to go slow, when is the time to strike. He knows the time, he knows the situation well, and his decisions are on point. These expressions of Ali alayhi salam so demonstrates and illustrate Malik as someone so trustworthy. Make him your shield. Trust him. He can do it. Caring and capable of safeguarding others. When Imam says he is your shield, Imam trusts Malik that he can protect the community and the people of Egypt and the army. When Imam says that, don't worry, don't be afraid that he may show weakness. Don't be afraid that he may fall, because Imam knows Malik to be so steadfast and strong like no others. Imam has no worries about Malik taking a wrong step. That just shows how Malik was unique again. Such a trust that Ali alayhi salam has in Malik. And the expression that he knows when to move and when to stop, when to haste and when to slow down. So, in other words, he is so moderate and wise. These are the words of Ali alayhi salam describing one of his most loyal and closest companions, Malik. And it shows why this letter is so unique, because it is written to someone unique, someone with such a capacity to take the most of all the teachings of Ali alayhi salam. So when Ibn Abil Hadid, he comments on these words of the Imam to two of the commanders of his army describing the character of Malik al-Ashtar. Ibn Abil Hadid says, فَأَمَّا ثَنَاءُ أَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ في هذا الفصل فقد بلغ ما اختصاره ما لا يبلغ بالكلام الطويل. Says that the praise of the commander of faith, Amir al-Mu'mineen, in this brief passage achieves what lengthy speech could not. Just few words describing Malik, that the impact and the depth of it overcomes a lecture, goes beyond a lecture of meaning, so deep about the characteristics of the Malik al-Ashtar. He continues, Ibn Abil Hadid, وَلَعُمْرِي لَقَدْ كَانَ الْأَشْتَرُ أَحْلًا لِذَلِكَ. And then he swears that, and I swear to Allah, indeed, Ashtar was worthy of such a praise. كان شديد البأس جوادا رئيسا حليما فصيحا شاعرا. He was valiant, generous, a leader, patient, eloquent, and a poet. وكان يجمع بين اللين والعنف فيستو في موضع السطوة ويرفق في موضع الرفق. He could combine gentleness with severity, striking fiercely when necessary and showing leniency where needed. أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم. This is the words of the Ibn Abil Hadid, that these expressions of Ali shows how elevated is the status of Malik in his eyes, and he well deserved that status, Ibn Abil Hadid says. In another hadith, it is reported that some people, they came to Imam alayhi salam, to Ali alayhi salam, complaining about Malik al-Ashtar. And Imam responds to their complaints. ويقول الإمام في رده على من جاء يشكو الأشتر من أصحابه. Imam said in response to them, يا ليت فيكم مثله اثنين. I wish there were two like him among you. I wish that I had two Malik Ashtar among you. يا ليت فيكم مثله واحدا. I wish there were even only one like him among you. يرى في عدوي ما أرى. Who can see in my enemy what I can see. So someone like Malik, who has my view, who can see what I see, who understands me when no one else has the capacity. إذن لخفت علي مؤونتكم. If I had just one other person like Malik, then your burden was going to be lightened for me. I was going to bear less pressure from you if I had another person like Malik to help me. And Imam continues, وَرَجَوْتُ أَنْ يَسْتَقِيمَ لِي بَعْضُ أَوَدَكُمْ. And then I could hope that some of your crookedness might strengthen. He could help me to fix you. But unfortunately, it is only one single Malik that I have. Again, very beautiful. Just shows that the Malik was a different person. It was just like those very few, less than the number of the fingers of the hand around Ali alayhi salam, who could understand Ali. And Ali could trust them. And Ali explicitly says, if I had more like him, I could achieve much, much more. I'm alone. I don't have the people who can trust to work with me. When Ali alayhi salam was informed about the martyrdom of Malik al-Ashtar, the wording are very strong. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون والحمد لله رب العالمين. Imam start first that everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I have no complaint. I'm grateful for whatever Allah gave me, for whatever taken from me. اللهم إني أحتسبه عندك. O God, I entrust his loss to you. This is a big loss for me. أحتسبه عندك فإن موته من مصائب الدهر. Because for his death is one of the calamities of the time. Imam understands the loss of Malik, what it means to him. فلقد وفى بعهده وقضى نحبه ولقى ربه. And Malik, then he is the one who fulfilled his promise, met his end, and faced his Lord. مع أن قد وطنا أنفسنا أن نصبر على كل مصيبة بعد مصابنا برسول الله فإنها من أعظم المصيبات. And Imam alayhi salam reminds everyone and himself that we decided, we prepared ourselves to endure any type of loss after our biggest loss which was the loss of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So we are prepared. Yes, it's difficult, but it will not shake Ali. Some of the people of the tribe of Nakha, because Malik al-Ashtar al-Nakhai, as you most probably heard, he was from the tribe of Nakha. And some of the elders of the tribe, they came to Ali alayhi salam. So they heard about the loss. And so they came to Ali alayhi salam to also as the representative of a tribe. And they were also grieving for the loss of the Malik. And they say, قالوا دخلنا على أمير المؤمنين حين بلغه موت الأشتر فوجدناه يتلحف ويتأسف عليه. When we came to Ali alayhi salam after his martyrdom, we saw him that he is grieving and lamenting over the loss of the Ashtar. Imam alayhi salam said, ثم قال لله در مالك وما مالك. By God, what can be said of Malik? لو كان من جبل لكان فندا ولو كان من حجر لكان صلدا. If he were a mountain, he would be a towering peak. If he were a stone, he would be an unbreakable rock. أما والله لا يحدن موتك عالما ولا يفرحن عالما. So the loss of you, Malik, would make many people grieve and would make some others happy. ولا يفرحن عالما. على مثل مالك فلتبكي البواكي وحل مرجو كمالك هل موجود كمالك. It is on the like of Malik that one has to cry on his loss. Can we hope someone else like Malik? Is there any, even someone exists like Malik? So Alqamah Qais al-Nakha'i, so was one of uh, the delegation of the Nakha tribe. He says that we came here as so the tribe who had the loss to Ali Islam, and we found him even more grieving than us, just showing us how unique was Malik to Ali Islam. But again, Ali Islam has this loss, but remind us that this is the loss that we are prepared for. It is Allah who decides everything. And after we lost the Prophet, we are prepared for losing more. And we are grateful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we remain steadfast. The path may become more difficult, but with the blessing of Allah, one can pass all the difficulties, can go beyond them. And just to know how Malik was different and unique is just to see even at the other side, the side of the enemies. We are talking about Muawiyah. When Muawiyah heard about Malik coming to Egypt, he was afraid. And Muawiyah, so it's one of the, it is reported from Muhammad ibn Abi Sayf al-Madaini, who says أن معاوية أقبل يقول لأهل الشام أيها الناس إن عليا قد وجه الأشتر إلى مصر. O people, Ali sent Malik to Egypt. And he was hoping to take over Egypt. And he knew that if Malik comes here, it would like impossible for him to take over Egypt. So he was encouraging people, فادعوا الله أن يكفيكهم كموه فكانوا يدعون عليه في دبر كل صلاة. So ask Allah to take care of him before he comes to the Egypt. And so those ignorant people were after each prayer, they were praying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to eliminate Malik. وأقبل الذي سقاه السم إلى ماء معاوية فأخبره بحلاك الأشتر. The one who managed and plotted the poisoning of Malik to kill Malik, he informed Muawiyah of what he did. And then Muawiyah went lecturing people, and he addressed people. أما بعد فإنه كان علي بن أبي طالب يدان يمينان. O people, Ali had two hands, two most trustworthy companions that were helping him. Ali needed them. فقطعت إحداهما يوم الصفين وهما عمار بن ياسر. One of them was Ammar, and we took it away from Ali, the Battle of Siffin. وقد قطعت الأخرى اليوم وهو مالك الأشتر. And the second hand was Malik, and we cut it today and separated him from Ali. So even the enemy knew the value of Malik. They were afraid of him. They plotted to kill him. This is the approach of the enemy. The moment that they feel weak, when they are facing those brave leaders, those brave figures, the only way they can think of is terror, is to take them out, hoping that that can help them. But the history of the Ahlul Bayt proved them wrong by taking out Hussein, by taking out his companions. The path of Hussein did not stop, even was strengthened over and over and over, giving people direction and hope and the inspiration. This is the impact of people like Malik. Not only they lead people in their life, even after they depart from this material world, their legacy inspires people and leads them. So I just wanted to say that this letter is unique, not just because the historical circumstances that I explained last session, which was a very important moment and the time period of during the rule of Ali alayhi salam. But it was also unique because of the one to whom the letter was written, Malik al-Ashtar. A unique person that had the capacity to digest the most elevated teachings of Ali alayhi salam. And Ali alayhi salam gives him more and more and more in this letter. Because he knows that Malik values every single word of this letter and execute it. So that's one of the main reasons that this letter is so special. Because this is a letter to a unique person by the commander of faith, by Ali alayhi salam. So it goes to see the letter is the longest letter in Nahj al-Balagha. It has the details that you rarely find in the other hadiths or the other instructions about the rule of governing in Islam, that you see it in the letter to Malik al-Ashtar, because Malik was someone who could look in depth and had the insight to value them. This letter is one of the most comprehensive and richest documents that Shia is proud of having it to show the political worldview of Islam and the political theology and the perspectives, the aims, the purposes that ruling people, the responsibility to guide people, would put on the burden of a governor, a ruler. What are your duties as someone who is tasked with guiding your people in a community, in a society? This letter explains in a unique way, in a way that only someone like Ali, with that wisdom and then that depth of knowledge and that depth of moral characteristic, can provide. This is again makes this letter so important, because if you look at the historical context that the letter was written in, it was just before the fall of the Egypt. Imam felt that the fall of the Egypt is imminent and only someone like Malik can prevent it. So just assume if this situation happens today, if a government feels the fall of, for example, a province, a very important province, a very important, for example, if you are talking about the empire, a very important country, what would be the most important advice and instructions of the leader of the empire, of the country? I assume in many cases the emphasis would be just prevent it from the falling no matter the cost. Suppress whoever is standing your way. Do whatever it is required, no matter the cost. Just make sure it doesn't happen. But when you look at the letter of Ali, you see that Ali's emphasis is not on the land, is on the people. Ali is more concerned about taking care of the people, being kind to the people, being understanding the people than just keeping the land. For Ali, it's the people who matter. So instead of giving a blank check to Malik to kill everyone, to suppress everyone needed, Ali is emphasizing again and again, be careful in how you treat people. It shows a different perspective of ruling, a different worldview, a different approach, which makes the school of Ali, a school of Ahl al-Bayt, a school of the Prophet unique and different. When you look at the Imam's instructions about how to treat with the security and, for example, those agencies that are tasked with the supervising secret agencies, for example, secret services, you see that Ali alayhi salam's approaches and his emphasis contrast with what we came to see in most of the countries around the world. Ali alayhi salam emphasis that, oh Malik, make those people who look at the flaws of your people, those agents, those secret services, for example, who look at the flaws of the people, make sure that they are the most far away people from you. Don't let them to come to you. You as a governor, you are more responsible of covering your people flaws than the others. Be like a father to them. Be compassionate. If they have flaws, you cover them. Don't let someone to expose them. So when you look, for example, at the Imam's instructions about the economy, how treating the merchants, how treating the business people, when Imam Salam highlights and emphasizes to Malik that, the burden of the economy, the financial burden is on the shoulder of these merchants and the business people, so the one who are engaging in the business occupation. Be sure to be considerate of them. Do not push them. Do not force them to pay tax if they caught in the unfortunate situations. They couldn't make that income which they expected it. Be kind to them. Be understanding of them. And support them, because then they can support the people. So these insights that you only see today in some of the theories about the economy and the role of for example, the businesses, the industries, you see 1400 years ago, Ali Islam covering them in his letter to Malik. What are the most important factors that a ruler has to consider when it comes to social justice? What are the priorities? How a ruler should be open to people's critique, complaints, gives them time, make him available to the people, to the public, so people can come forward without any fear to speak to their leader about what concerns them. These are those golden rules that you find in the most richest guides and documents for politics, for governing a society in the letter of Ali alayhi salam. So this letter is, I cannot enough emphasize the importance of this letter. And I can only say that whoever as a Shia lives not knowing the letter lost a lot, not knowing about the insight of Ali, not knowing about the beauty of the Islamic teachings when it comes to practice in relationship to the people. I'm finishing my talk today by just saying that this letter was so unique that Ibn Abil Hadid mentions a story from Muawiyah. The story originally, it is narrated that it was about the letter that Ali alayhi salam wrote to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. But there is also another letter, not as detailed as this one, but it also covers important points. So Ibn Abdul Hadid mentions that it is reported that the story is about that letter, but he mentions a few points that no, it was about the letter Ali alayhi salam wrote to Malik. So it is said that so according to Ibn Abil Hadid, after the martyrdom of Malik, so people brought to him the letter of Ali alayhi salam, to Muawiyah, brought to Muawiyah the letter of Ali alayhi salam that he gave it to Malik. It was with him. And فكان معاوية ينظر في هذا الكتاب ويتعجب منه. Muawiyah was looking in this letter and was surprised with the content. So Walid ibn Uqbah was there. So he is famous for his audacity and for his corruption. And when he saw that Muawiyah is being so interested in the letter and surprised by the content, he asked Muawiyah to burn the letter. And then Muawiyah responded, "Mah la ra'ya lak." You don't understand it. You don't have any proper understanding of what this letter means. So then Walid complained, أفمن من الرعي أن يعلم الناس أن أحاديث أبي تراب عندك تتعلم منها? So is it wise for the people to know that you are studying the advices of Ali and you follow them? You want to follow them, to learn from them? قال معاوية, so Muawiyah responded, ويحك أتأمرني أن أحرق علما مثل هذا والله ما سمعت بعلم هو أجمع منه. This is the beauty, the kind of the knowledge that even your enemy confess to it, admit. So the Muawiyah says, what do you understand? You don't know. You ask me to burn this kind of knowledge that by Allah, I never saw a letter so comprehensive and so strong. The instructions of how to guide and how to maintain the rule. Then Walid said, إن كنت تعجب من علمه وقضائه فعلى ما تقاتله. Then if you are so taken, so you are so in love with his wisdom and knowledge, so why you are fighting him? Why you are trying to kill him? Then Muawiyah tried to bring excuses. فقال لولا أن أبا تراب قتل عثمان ثم أفتانا لأخذنا عنه. If it wasn't for the matter that he killed Uthman, so the kind of claim that Muawiyah made to justify his movement against Ali alayhi salam, and that he ordered us, commanded us, so he knew that Ali alayhi salam would not tolerate someone like Muawiyah in his rule. If it was not for that, لأخذنا منه, we were going to learn from him. And then ثم سكت حنيئة ثم نظر إلى جلسائه فقال إنا لا نقول إن هذه من كتب علي بن أبي طالب. He said to his companions, people around him, that we are not going to say to the people that it is from Ali alayhi salam. Rather, ولكن نقول هذه من كتب أبي بكر الصديق كانت عند ابنه محمد فنحن ننظر فيها. We claim that it was written by the first caliph and was being kept by his son Muhammad, and we started looking at it. So we just don't let people know that it's from Ali. It's valuable treasure. But later on, it was at the time of the Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was somehow different from the other Umayyad caliphs, that so it was kept in among those royal documents, and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz discovered it, and he understood that it's from Ali alayhi salam, and then later on distributed, and the letter became available later on. So this letter is so valuable that even the most fierce enemy of Ali and his Muawiyah admits and confesses to the depth of it and the value of it. He cannot even bear himself to destroy it, despite knowing the possible consequences of people understanding that he is following or he is treasuring the wisdom of Ali. So far, I think, inshallah, in these two preliminary sessions, I hope that I was able to highlight the importance of this letter, how unique the Imam alayhi salam letter to Malik al-Ashtar is, considering the historical context which I explained in the previous session, and considering the uniqueness of the person who is receiving the letter, considering how unique is Malik, who is receiving the letter, and considering the confession and admission of his enemies, that how unique and comprehensive and different is this letter in terms of enlightening, in terms of illuminating, in terms of demonstrating the comprehensive perspective of Ali alayhi salam and teachings of Islam about what matters the most when governing a community and when the matter of the ruling the society. And we have to learn from every single word of this letter, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the blessing and the wisdom to benefit the most from these beautiful and golden advice of Ali alayhi salam, and to value and appreciate the treasure that has been left to us, inshallah. Please recite a salawat.